How do you get a bunch of TPM pillars to develop your operational excellence program, but still do it in such a way that there's only one set of rules for your factory, for your management team, because that is really important. Hello, I'm Tom. Welcome to my channel, where we talk about continuous improvement in an industrial setting. And we will be talking about how do you integrate your pillars, if you really follow the traditional TPM style, what I really do like, by the way. So many people don't like to speak about pillars anymore because of all kinds of negative connotations. They can work really well. But okay, if you want to call it work streams or task groups or you want to, whatever you want to make them, please do. But as soon as you have multiple departments, groups, work streams, or pillars, develop your management system on their specific topic. And think about it, right? Even if you do not do TPM, you still have this in your company. You have a safety department that sets out all kinds of safety rules, while there is a finance department doing financial and controlling things, and there's maintenance and quality, and they all have their own view on how you should run the business as well. And most of them will also know that they need continuous improvement. In fact, most certification ask of them, demand of them that they do continuous improvement. So they all have a certain way of how you need to analyze and document and how you need to control performance. For a factory management team, that is an absolute nightmare. You do not want to have, as a factory director, you don't want to have a quality management system, a safety management system, a financial management system, a production management system, and a maintenance management system. Those systems probably need to exist somewhere underneath, but your factory needs one single strategy of going forward. What are we going to focus on? What are the priorities? And most of those systems need to just function somewhere in their own areas. Now, that is what we will be talking about. And we get back to my favorite infinite loop. And the infinite loop is around a standard. So these are performance and input standards. We control it. We keep the standard on the level, but we also improve. And like this, we go into infinity of improving and then making sure that we sustain that improvement by controlling current best performances. Now, in the traditional FSO system, the visioning part is baked into the control loop on the top. And honestly, my FSO colleagues, I would say we need to have a discussion on getting that vision loop out of here, because it's not for nothing I draw it like this, an extra circle around it, because this has its own cadence. Because what you also want to do is you want to set the vision. You want to, from time to time, step back, do your management review, as most of the quality management systems would call it. You check what you did, you compare that to what others in the industry can do, what you can do, you spot opportunities, and then you go back into this infinite loop with an important distinction, which is which KPIs, so which performance parts, are we going to keep stable? So basically just going to make sure that we control them in a good way. And as soon as we see deviations, we act on it, root cause problem solving, and we get back to our proven best standards. And which are we not happy enough with, and we see some opportunity to improve them. And then we go through our improvement loop, we make new standards, new ways of working, maybe a bit of process re-engineering. In the end, we get new input standards into our process, and we're just talking physics here. New inputs means new output. We have new standards, and then those new standards will make sure that we control the skills, we control the inputs, we control the outputs, and we act on deviations. So this keeps going. And in fact, I would say that the control loop moves the fastest, then the improved loop moves a bit slower, and the visioning loop is even slower. For instance, this is roughly a weekly thing for your management team. This is roughly a monthly to quarterly thing for your management team. This is something you do on a quarterly to yearly basis as a site management team. When we involve the pillars into this, for instance, the maintenance pillar, they are tasked with guarding uptime and reliability of the machinery, right? Fewer breakdowns, fewer speed losses probably, short stops also one of those things. So we want to get the reliability of our lines to a much higher level. At the same time, we also want to reduce some maintenance costs, want to make sure that the whole maintenance system works. In the end, that's the performance part they're looking into. How does that then fit into our factories, vision, control, and improve loops? When we take, for instance, the point here on the visioning one, we analyze our performance, right? So that is what you do from time to time when you step back from the process a bit. When you do not have pillars yet, your operational excellence program, or maybe your one production support specialist, your CI officer, sort of makes sure together, probably with maintenance anyway, but that you can do this for OEE, breakdown, for how often do we need to do maintenance, things like that. As soon as you do have the maintenance pillar, the plant maintenance pillar, one of the first things that they should do is to develop their analysis and prioritization system, which includes, we now want to be able to do breakdown analysis. We want to be able to do breakdown seriousness level analysis, machine prioritization. That's maybe a little bit later on the visioning loop, but also we need to know what is the criticality of machines, what is their performance in terms of breakdowns, short stops, speed problems, stuff like that, the machine reliability. We need to know what is the performance of our technicians, our mechanics, for instance, hands-on tool time. These are ways of analyzing that are more specific to plant maintenance. Maybe you had some of them before you started working with TPM, maybe you didn't, but the maintenance pillar or the maintenance work stream will develop these. They should not become a standalone system. No, they have to feed into when you do a visioning loop. So when we're looking at the whole plant level, the visioning loop is yearly, quarterly, yearly. This fits into that last week or that last deep dive that you have. We want the plant maintenance pillar to make sure that we can actually see unreliability of the machines, that we can measure unplanned stops, that we have the sensors, the tags, the tools, the databasing to be able to say, oh, these lines, this percentage of breakdowns, those are the units of the line that break down the most. Here we see different variation, here we see opportunities, a bit further in the visioning cycle. So that is what plant maintenance will do. The quality pillar, they will be looking at waste. So they will be looking at defects and waste, right? So claims, waste. The quality department almost always has a very nice claims analysis system already in place. That's the narrow definition of quality. Is our customer happy? If not, they send a claim, we're going to investigate. That can usually also become a bit more practical, a bit more useful, but it's in place. But now we also want to have a good waste detection system and a rework detection and things like overusage, right? Giveaway. That needs to be developed probably for your company. Now, who's going to do that? The quality pillar, the quality work stream. They are going to work on increasing your capability, your competence as an organization to do performance analysis. They will do it on the quality KPIs. AM will do it on how well are our people able to follow basically the rules, but to follow standards, to do the cleanings, to do the small AM tasks. Where are training gaps? Education and training pillar, right? So all of those pillars, they will develop that same part of our infinite loop for their own scope. And the same goes if we go into more practical, more control type of things. So if we do our process confirmation, layered process audits, our process control, this is where we go and check proactively that the inputs to our processes are good, so that we're using the correct materials, that operators, and that's the most important part, that people use the work instructions as needed, right? So that they do things as we have agreed are the best standards. Can our people implement and execute these standards? maybe not due to training, maybe not due to materials not being available, maybe not due to walking routes having changed and it's now impossible to do it. So there's a whole bunch of reasons why they might not do it, and we're then going to fix them. So we're looking for deviations to our standards, to our operating standards, and then fixing those deviations. Now, that part you can do just generally, but who is going to tell us what is a good way to measure the tensile strength of our product? Quality department, laboratory, probably, right? So the quality pillar also has tools to judge the quality of standards to begin with. 5 questions for 0 defects. You can do that on a standard. You can also definitely do that specifically on how are you then going to be able to judge those standards. So you expect the quality workstream or the quality pillar to develop the ways of doing a Gemba walk, the ways of controlling processes so that non-quality minded people can also do it. What do I need to go into as an engineer, right? As a very technical engineer, I can definitely check if people are doing a quality check correctly or not if I get a nice checklist with a couple of critical points. What's the brilliant thing about that? Those critical points will also be the critical points to begin the training with in the first place. But do you see how the quality pillar feeds into the process control for your whole system? The plant maintenance pillar, they need to feed into how can we actually check and how can not only chief engineers, but broader throughout the management team, including, of course, your first line managers, how can they check that plant maintenance, that preventive inspections, things like that are being carried out in a correct way? How can they check a good work permit for maintenance work? So the combination between the safety and the maintenance team. Right? So these are types of skills that you want your pillars to upskill the rest of the organization. And the same goes for the improvement side of things. So you want your quality pillar to become masters of basically Six Sigma, but of those improvement methods that will allow you to improve the quality of your processes themselves, right? So to reduce waste and claims. You want the maintenance pillar to become masters in especially things like AVMEA on machines and designing machines in a good way so that they become more reliable and so that your maintenance becomes better. And these are also specific applications of your Kaizen thinking or Kaizen events or your DMAIC type of improvement that you want those pillars to upskill the competence level of your organization, of your one infinite loop. That is how they work together. So a maintenance pillar is not making different things. So they are making a different implementation, but not a different goal from a quality pillar, from an autonomous management or maintenance pillar, from focused improvement. These pillars all need to work together and build this one system for operations to work with. And when you are in the beginning of your journey, you don't have pillars yet, and maybe you won't even go to there, then this is all the work. Building this is the work of your operational management team, supported by your operational excellence, your continuous improvement team. And it's just when you sort of set these tasks to the respective managers to develop the system further, that maybe will build out into small work groups around those managers. And heck, you can just as well call them pillars by that time. But you will see that same part coming back. So when we look at pillar implementation, we always want to ask the pillar to develop sort of 3 big building blocks. And that is that vision. That is a good improvement system. And control. Each pillar will have their own parts of how they need to become better at analyzing, spotting opportunities, setting KPIs and the roadmap for their scope. Each pillar will improve your performance on their scope, develop the tools for that, but also actually do the improvements. And each pillar will further develop the control systems to sustain the gains in their scope. Now, it doesn't mean that it has to be the same thing they improve is the thing that they control. They build the control system on their scope. So the focus improvement pillar builds the whole performance control system for basically anything that has to do with OE. The maintenance team, they build the control system for machine conditions. Super important for all of the other pillars as well. The quality pillar, they build the control system on quality, but also on the ingoing parameters, the ingoing process inputs. That is also machine quality a bit, but definitely all kinds of materials, ways of working, and how we train our people. So that all comes together, and this is a traditional way of building up a pillar. It's just not very traditional to explicitly link it to the infinite loop, which I think we should really start doing. That's why I'm here discussing it. I would like to really know from you, and please do write it down in the comments, does this come home for you? So does this concept make better sense than the TPM pillar explanations you've seen so far? I think it does. What does this sort of call up for you, or how have you seen it explained in maybe even a clearer way to make sure that each of the pillars, each of the functional areas, makes only one management system for your factory? Let me know that in the comments below. For now, I wish you the best of luck making sure that you coordinate all of your improvement and sustaining activities throughout the factory. And of course, don't forget to also enjoy the continuous improvement journey.